Welcome back to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two long-distance best friends recap the plot of romance novels while joking, swooning, and loving the genre. Before we get started, let's do a Patreon shout-out. Jenny W., you are the love child of Eutychia, goddess of happiness, and Elpis, goddess of hope. From Eutychia, you get your positive outlook, sunny disposition, and practice of random acts of kindness. Whether it's big, like volunteering, or small, like introducing us to the reading sexy mudflap girl, you're always there to lift others up. Now, the Greeks weren't super into hope. They more saw it as an extension to human suffering. And there's honestly something sort of beautiful about that. So from Elpis, goddess of hope, you get your healthy coping mechanisms and ability to take on big challenges. Life hasn't been all roses and sunshine for you, but you push through the trials and pain and come out stronger on the other side, because a big part of hope is belief or faith in yourself. If you love what we do, please take the time to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcatcher of choice. And if you want to recommend a book to us at the same time, we'll add it to our list. If you love what we do so much that you want us in your ear holes even more, or you just want to support our efforts, head over to patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms podcast to get tons of bonus content and some gifts. And now, let's get into the conclusion of The Mark of the Midnight Manzanilla by Lauren Willig. Ooh. Hi, Erin. Hi, Erin. Erin. Hi,
no, you have
Erin.
You have the wrong tone.
Erin.
The wrong tone.
Oh.
Hello. Melody.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now
Okay,
you
we're
got
fine
it.
now. Okay, cool,
Okay.
cool.
Welcome to a very spooky and mysterious episode that's probably going to come out after Halloween.
It is the week after Halloween.
The spookiest of times. You've just let your guard down.
That's right.
I have
So
some things
true.
to talk about.
Oh, Erin, tell me everything.
I have some things to talk about this book, and then I also have
Ah.
some generalized banter. I should probably...
Let's start with the generalized
Generalized
banter.
banter
Yes.
Last week, I told you guys about how I was having a party called an autumnal party for basic ladies who love fall at my home. Bonfires, s'mores, hats, gloves, scarves, pumpkin desserts,
Uh-huh.
chili, cornbread.
Ugh,
Those are all the things I can think of.
incredible.
While at the autumnal party for ladies who love fall, I should say, I had some coworkers over
Yeah.
and they spent the night at my house. And
Whoa.
they were certain that my house was haunted as they spent the night in my basement. There was a noise coming, I believe, from my refrigerator downstairs that was kind of like a wailing noise that they thought was some kind of a disembodied crying child.
Wow.
It is not, I can tell you I've heard this noise in my basement before. It is not a noise that should come from a refrigerator, but I believe that is where the noise is coming from. Because, refrigerators should not sound like, it's very
Dory? Dory speaking
that was
whale?
too whaley. But just, it's a whale, but not a whale, you know? Somewhere in there.
Yes.
Anyway, so they've been teasing me about how I have a haunted house ever since. They draw ghosts on the whiteboard in my office, a lot of things like that.
Oh, I love your coworkers.
So then we're here at my party and the fan just starts turning on and off in my house.
You're haunted.
On, max, off. On,
No.
off. Then the wailing noise starts going, and they're like, that's it. That's the wailing noise from the downstairs fridge, but we're upstairs.
Oh, no.
And so I was like, okay. So then Goat's doing the thing where she, bites people. It's just, a little cute habit she has where she, bites people.
Is
Don't worry
it?
about it. It's fine. No, it's adorable. It's fine. It's good. Yeah. It's fine. So she bit some people. And so I put her in her kennel downstairs.
Uh-huh.
2 seconds later, she comes running upstairs. So
From her kennel? Her
Yeah.
closed kennel or locked
I
kennel?
locked it. Yeah, I was sure of it. I was sure I locked her kennel. So then I was like, that's weird, but like,
Erin.
I'll keep her out until she bites somebody else, I guess. Then today, before starting the podcast, she didn't bite anyone else. She learned her lesson. Before starting the podcast, I put her in her kennel again so they don't bark like right outside the door, how they sometimes do.
Right. I'm familiar.
And I took special attention to lock this thing.
And
And
the
she
ghost
she's
let
out.
Goat out.
Mm-hmm.
Goat made BFFs with your fucking ghost, and she's getting special privileges.
Why do you think the ghost hates Rooster?
I mean...
Because Rooster's still down in the kennel. Like, what the fuck?
Rooster sucks up to no one.
I will say Rooster likes being in her kennel, though. She's just
okay.
yeah, that's fine. This is a good day for me. Goat hates it, so I don't know. So,
Man.
what a spooky ghost
Maybe-
story, you guys, to go with our
wait.
spooky book. What?
Maybe Goat is trading favoraro sexuales with
Maybe.
the ghost.
Great Spanish. Maybe Goat has been dead this whole time, and it's really Ghost. Her name is really Ghost.
Oh my
I
god.
need to get her a little ghost costume for
I
Halloween.
think so.
Because we're in the past,
Yeah.
you guys. It hasn't occurred yet here.
It's true.
So that's my ghost story.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Secondly, I want
Yeah.
to talk a little bit about our girl, Lauren Willig, the author of The Mark of the Midnight Manzanilla.
Yeah.
Because we've taken a little umbrage with the fact that there is no sexual relations in this book.
Well, I have. You've been very
Explicit.
polite about it.
Right. But so I wanted to share a few more details about the first book, which I didn't finish, but I wanted to know more about the pink carnation thing and stuff. So I went on Goodreads to see if I could find some spoilerly reviews of the pink carnation that would help give away more stuff about all these spies and stuff.
Uh-huh.
The Goodreads reviews of the pink carnation are so fucking mean. that
Why?
It is like girl on girl crime times 1,000. This
Oh,
is what happened with
no.
this series, which is wildly popular. So I mean, it's not like no one read these or something.
Well,
But
because they're fucking good.
yeah, they're incredible.
This book is so good.
It seems from the Goodreads reviews, and I could be very wrong, but this is just what I'm picking up from what they're putting down.
Okay,
is
well,
that
I'm a little
This thing
alarmed.
was marketed as a historical romance. Or no, I'm
Okay.
sorry. This thing was marketed as a historical fiction, not a romance. And it
Oh.
was sold via like Christian magazines.
Oh.
So a lot of people
okay.
who are reviewing on Goodreads are like, this is bullshit. I picked up this historical fiction book and all it is silly bullshit about feelings and like la la la, like just
get outta
putting
here.
modern characters in corsets and having crack jokes is not a historical fiction. And
Oh,
this girl
fuck
knows
you.
nothing about history and like all that kind of stuff. There was one review that said, I read this book because this author was going to be featured with other historical fiction authors at this convention that I went to for historical fiction. And then I realized that this was a silly, stupid book that's like just written for, like basically just lady stuff. Buh. And she's like, and then I met the author and then I realized girly book, girly author should have known.
What?
And I'm like, you bitch. So I think I want to be a little nicer because I think she's taken it from two ends, unfortunately.
Oh, this
This
poor
thing was probably marketed as a historical fiction or as some kind of like in a Christian magazine. And those people on Goodreads were super pissed off that there was R-rated,
Oh my
making
God.
out.
There
and,
was
like,
a kiss.
boob touch,
Jesus.
or like they're thinking about various, sexual things. They have these little sexual fantasies about each other. Those people are enraged. And then the romance readers are enraged that there's no on the page sex. And so she's stuck in the middle in a way that she's like
I
getting
feel
bad
bad
reviews
now.
from both sides. And now this thing only has like 3 stars or something on Goodreads, which is
that's
bullshit.
not okay.
Because it's such a good book. So I just want to say
This is a really good book.
it's a great book. And I don't want to be I don't want to be the people that are coming from the romance side being mean to it because
my
there's no
gosh.
sex, because
How
we're
do
coming
we-
on the other side.
I wish we could go back and redo the first episode.
I know.
God damn it.
I know.
God damn it.
So,
okay, listen.
I just want to say
here's
that.
the
Lauren
thing.
Willig, you're so talented and good.
And I have a new theory learning
And it was
all
sexy,
of that.
too. Sexy
God,
book.
it was so sad. That's why I was mad.
Yeah.
Everything about it was
the
so
reason
good.
why we're mad is that it was sexy.
So I have a new theory. Do you want to hear it, Erin? I just
Yes.
came up with it on the fly.
Yes.
Because she writes these kisses so well. And she writes the sexy times in each of their minds
Yeah,
so
they have these
well.
fleeting sexual fantasies about each other.
Yes.
They really don't go in explicit places, but are just
but they're in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so my theory is that this manuscript started with sex scenes. And her editors were like, if you want to sell in this genre, which is what we want to sell it in, you have to take these sex scenes out.
I feel
That's
like
what I'm
maybe it
guessing.
went one way or the other, but I think that it's more likely it went the way you're saying because of how talented she is at writing.
She's so good. Jesus.
That.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
now I feel like a dick.
Well, don't feel like a dick. I just wanted to make it clear because you like books with sex scenes. There's nothing wrong with that. So do I.
Yes, I do.
But I want to make clear how much we really liked it and found it to be very sexy. That's all.
Yes. All right.
Gosh,
so
those ladies were like basically calling her a slut. I just felt it was feeling very slut-shamey and personal.
Go fuck
and it
yourself.
Was awful. Lauren, if you're listening to this, and I don't know why you would be, but if you're listening to this, do not go read those reviews. You're a goddess.
you're really,
Don't go
really
over
good
there.
at what you do. Yeah.
We're sorry we mentioned them. Okay.
Jeez.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So there has just been a murder, you guys. And
A
Sally
murder!
has just told the
Oh
Duke
my
to
gosh.
fuck off over a
murder.
railing.
With some of the dumbest fang marks anyone has
Oh,
ever
man.
put on a corpse.
Rooshed on fang marks. Just
Ugh.
like we said before, go
If
the
you're
extra
gonna-
mile and
If
do
you're
a
gonna
puncture.
do it right. Do a
That's right.
puncture. Gosh.
So Sally told him the day before that he needs to come to her house the next
Right.
day so they can like strategize and chat and stuff. So he's like, ugh, I really don't want to do this. I don't really know what I'm even walking into. Blurg, blurg, blurg. So he comes at like 2 p.m., which is crazy late in the day for callers, I guess. And when he walks in, he gets shown into this sitting room and he notices that Sally is in an adjoining room with the worthless magistrate, Sir
Yes.
Matthew Edgerton or whatever
And we
his
should
name
say
is.
also that Lucien has started to think, like, what's Sally Fitzhugh's role in
Yeah.
this whole thing? Why was she just, like, by happenstance in my garden the other night? Why
What's
was
her
she just...
angle?
And he never actually finds that out in the whole book. He never even, like, asks. Anyway, why was she on the balcony or
Right.
whatever? Why did, and he's kind of,
Yeah.
like, feeling like maybe she's... I guess not the murderer, but like something. Like
but he's just
in
just
league with the
befuddled.
murderer or something. Yeah.
Especially since and then when he walks in, he's like, I don't understand because she's playing up like the debutante damsel in distress, persona, and she's like, oh, I don't know what happened, and he must have had a hair lip and a hunchback, and he was so scary, the murderer, and I was all alone, she says, and so Lucien's like, what the fuck, man? She's like lying to the authorities and stuff. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So the magistrate fucks off and he gets shown into the sitting room and she's like, oh, nice of you to finally show up, you fuckface. And he's like, yeah, that's sure. Don't call me names. That none of that happened. Okay.
That didn't happen, so you didn't say that.
So then he meets the sister-in-law. Doesn't matter. The sister-in-law leaves the room because there's a baby covered in jam that
and
is
the
making
baby
a
is
ruckus.
named Jam, raspberry,
Parsnip.
rasp apple.
Parsnip.
I can't.
I know.
Cran apple,
parsnip.
the baby. I can't.
Pumpkin spice the baby.
Did we
Okay.
talk about turnip in the last episode?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
We must have. We had to have.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
because
I think we went off on a tangent about it because that's not a fucking name.
it's not a name and it's not cute.
And like, don't keep that nickname.
Being
Just like,
named Turnip is not a personality, okay?
all right, Turnip, Reginald.
Yeah, you're basic.
Reginald.
Turnip.
I don't know what
And your daughter Cranapple. All right. Mark of the Midnight Cranapple.
So they talk about all sorts of things. There's good banter. And he's like, hey, P.S., since I've met you, I've been called a vampire and like come upon a murder. So like, you want to comment on that? And then she, understandably, takes a little bit of umbrage with that.
Yeah.
She's like, what in the world are you talking about, you ungrateful
I didn't want to
wretch?
find a dead bitch on a bench. I'm putting my reputation on the line for you right now.
Yeah, and you think that was fun for me?
Yeah.
Seeing my first dead body ever?
And then he is put right in his place, takes several seats, and then he's like, Miss Fitzhugh, Lucien was beginning to learn, was a debutante with a difference. It was like picking up a bunch of daisies to discover that they were, in fact, a rather rare sort of orchid.
Erin, botany is everywhere. Mist and steam. Okay.
the botany. The tiny top hats.
That's right. Okay. So then he comes out and tells her about the mom being a spy theory. And she's like, God, these spies just coming out of fucking everywhere.
Spies are always everywhere. They're like a plague. They're like locusts.
Geez. Yeah, they're like moths. How dare they?
Moths, that's what it was.
Then he also tells her that the corpse was holding manzanilla flowers, not daisy flowers. And she comes to realize, because of a turn of phrase he says, that she knows who the murdered woman was. She just saw her in a production of Ophelia. So she's like, to the theater! And he's like, I have a phaeton for that and stuff.
So she says that she's going to go buy ribbons. They're always buying ribbons.
God, or bonnets, or like trim, or something.
But mostly ribbons, it seems
I know.
Anyway.
I know.
She says she's going to go buy ribbons, and really, they go to the theater.
The theater! Yeah, so he drives her in the phaeton. I don't know. And she notices that she amuses him. Farting. Okay.
Sorry.
She notices that she amuses him quite a bit, and she rather likes that a lot. So they show up at this theater, and bum, you guys, who do you think is the director of the theater?
It's his old tutor.
It's Sherry, his old tutor, you guys.
But he's changed his name, and he looks different now, but it is
he looks older.
Oh my God. And Lucien is so mean to him.
And he is betrayed, Erin.
But listen, justice betrayed. For Sherry.
I mean, yes.
Lucien is like, oh, Sherry, you, after my parents died, you just like ran off and didn't say goodbye to anybody. Hey, yo, Lucien, maybe after your parents died,
told him to get the hell out.
Yeah, that's one thing. But also, like, you did the same shit to your sister and everybody in your life. Maybe think about that, Lucien.
Yeah. He's not very self-reflective in that moment.
Misunderstood you are and how mean you were to that tutor. I love a mean one.
But you do.
But he was so mean. And also he thinks at this point that maybe this guy killed his parents.
Yeah, because remember, Uncle Henry put in his ear that Sherry was part of a bunch of like fringe political groups, and he thinks that there's a possibility that Sherry was his mom's contact. At the time, there was this awful rumor going around that Sherry and his mom were banging it out on a daily or hourly basis.
Yes.
And like that sucked for Lucien to learn. And now he walks in and there's another dead bitch who looked just like his mom, covered in manzanilla flowers. Like, what is he supposed to think? But also, he was very accusatory.
And that dead bitch happens to be one of the actresses in his play, which is like, very,
problems.
And then
so anyway, Sherry takes it on the chin, and he's like, I listen, none of that happened. I was in love with your mom, but like nothing ever came of it because it was a schoolboy's fantasy. Like, she was just lovely, and she didn't look at me at all because she was in love with your dad. And everything was just as it should be in that household. And Sally's like, I like this director writer guy. This is great. Also, there's a great momentary side character for the lady who's filling in for the actress, because the actress quit.
Yes.
And the actress quit and was like, I'm moving on to bigger and better things, laters. And so now this new girl, she always plays their saucy, like, serving wenches or whatever. And I think maybe my favorite line of the book. And I think that I know it says a lot about me as a person, but Sherry goes, it's left us in quite a disarray. And then she from the stage pipes up with, oi, there's nothing wrong with my Ray.
I definitely saw the oi and I was like, ooh. Okay, he like outright accuses him.
Yeah.
Sally's very like, whoa, like if you could kind of coordinate with me ahead of time about like what's going on. Like I feel like we're not on the right page right now. And like, I love Sally. She's such a delight.
She is.
And she really likes Sherry. So she keeps trying to like salvage the conversation. And one of my favorite parts of the book is when Sally's like, I really loved your version of Hamlet.
Yeah.
Which ended happily with an HEA and no one died and there was a wedding. And just like, I hate it when plays die or plays go and like everybody's dead at the end, and that sucks. And it makes for terrible stage direction too, because there's so many bodies on the stage. It's just so funny.
So good. Anyway. So then she does a shiver for some reason. I think everybody can see their nipples are super hard, and so the Duke. Listen, that's also Melody fanfic. That doesn't. Yeah,
that has nothing to do with this book.
She does like shiver though. I will say she does shiver. And so he goes to put on his cloak around her, and like she can feel his hand against her
gloved
chin,
hand, but it's like
the heat through the glove,
and he like ties it underneath her chin,
and then she rests her hand in like a comforting motion over his hand, and then he like stills because he feels very comforted, and he's probably also very hard, and then Sherry's like. And then Sherry's like, yeah, it is very, very cool in here. And they break apart and they're like, oh, gosh. So Sherry's like, hey, the actress was supposed to come and pick up all her shit today, but she hasn't shown up. So
on account of being dead.
Probs, yep.
Yes, that's probably why.
And so they're like, we're going to go rifle through her dressing room. And he's like, yeah, I guess that checks out. Totally cool. All right, Lucien, do you need anything else? My door's always open. I really want to be BFFs. I loved you when you were a kid, and I'm gonna continue loving you for the rest of my days in like an older brother, way. And Lucian's like, we can see ourselves out.
Fuck off, Sherry. I hated it, but I kind of loved it, but I hated it.
I know you love the prickly ones.
Oh, I love it. So everyone in the theater like leaves them alone in the theater. They go to the back dressing room,
and then they start rifling.
I just love it. The chapter ends with them finding this secret box that they don't know how to open, and then the first sentence in the next chapter is Sally being like, "Oh, I have a box just like this," and just like pops it right open.
She's the best.
The end of the last one is like Lucien being like, "What a curious box. However, will we open it? And what secrets lie inside?" Her being like, "Plonk, plonk. It's open." Anyway, it's this.
Okay, so they find. So he's like, "There's nothing that supports Sherry's narrative," and she's like, "Except for," flourishes them, "these letters." And then she looks down at them and she's like, "Good Lord, do people actually do these things?" And he snatches them out of her hands to protect her innocent womanliness.
Yes.
And because they're about fucking, you guys.
And then he like reads them like high up where she can't see them. And she's like, "You're holding them too high. I can't read them."
And he's like, "I'm saving you your blushes," or something like that. And she's like, "Ahem, I am in my second season." So.
Yeah, I know so many things. I am not so innocent. And he thinks that she really is innocent, but then he's like thinking about ways he could make her not very innocent. Oh, good. I'm so glad you have it.
I've got it. Don't worry. So it says, she tilted her head up at Lucien as if to say, "So there." She looked delightfully smug, her blue eyes bright with satisfaction, her very pose an unspoken challenge. In fact, she looked like a woman waiting to be kissed. And if she weren't the innocent she claimed not to be, which she was, Lucien reminded himself, however many seasons she might have had, he wouldn't have the least bit of compunction about taking her up on that offer. All it would take was one step forward, and then he could slide his hand beneath that artfully arranged hair, beneath that single curl that bobbed and bounced and drew the eye to the sleek line of her neck, rising above the demure braid collar of her walking dress. He would drop to one knee in front of that silly little stool and kiss the smile from the corners of her eyes. He would kiss the tender spot at the side of her neck and the pulse in the hollow of her wrist where her glove parted from her sleeve. And then, when desire replaced surprise, when her breath quickened and her eyelids flickered, he would draw her down towards him and kiss those ripe red lips. Kiss them until the papers fluttered unheeded to the floor around them. Kiss them until neither of them remembered why they were there or anything but that they were.
Lauren,
you guys!
Lauren!
Lauren!
I love the part where he said that he kissed the little spot between her glove and her sleeve, the tender skin on the inside of her wrist. Do you remember in that Sarah McLean book when
of course I remember
ran
that.
his teeth along the inside of that?
Cannot
even.
God,
Okay.
Jesus, that's when I realized that wrists were like erogenous zones. I hadn't.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know intellectually, but like
always have been all the way back to England times wrists. Wrists.
They were especially erogenous zones then. Wrists and ankles, bitches. Woo! All right.
Hot stuff.
So after that, he's like, he can't keep the thread of what they're talking about or what he should be doing. He's just like, letters? What? Oh, God, these letters. Oh, right. We're supposed to be finding out letters, this murder.
My parents' murder. I totally forgot.
So true. That corpse we saw last night. Yeah, so they're like, she definitely had a protector, and then they go to leave the theater, and things are going bump and swish and weirdness and creak. Mm-hmm. There's like creaks in the theater that they don't really understand. He can't quite make his way out to the front. He can't find his way through like the back alleyways of the theater or whatever. Yeah. So they end up going out this side door, and then they can't find the phaeton, is how they pronounced it.
Farton.
The Farton. So they're trying to find the Farton, and there's like a mist that has descended at like 4 o'clock.
Because it's Sherlock Holmes times.
Sherlock Holmes times.
And also her skirts caught on a thing in the thing and made a noise that was scary. That makes me think it's one of those big Sherlock Holmes times sorts of skirts.
Oh, nope, it's not.
But it might be. But maybe.
So they are like trying to find their way to the Farton, and she's like, "Who's there? What's this happening?" And she says that she sees a guy, and he pulls her up against him because he's not about to let her step out into the mist and be lost forever.
I forgot about.
Oh yeah, and so she's like pressed up against his chest.
Guys, this is such a sexy dude.
Who dangy?
Pause right now. Go read this book if you didn't. Just we don't care if you listen to our podcast. Read the book.
Listen, I care.
Downloaded it.
Come back.
We've already
got
back. Their download. We've already got them. You've already been counted, bitches.
So he's doing a protect and an embrace. And then they make it to the Farton together. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, dun, dun, dun.
There's a note with a leaf.
And it's covered in manzanilla branches and flowers and leaves.
And those are poisonous if you touch them.
Forever poisonous. Yeah, they'll give you rashes.
And so she reaches for it and he's like, no, fuck, no. Don't
Stop
do it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
slow motion running toward the phaeton.
Yeah.
And he pushes her out of the way. And then he grabs the note, and it says,
I honestly don't think it's even
fanfic.
kind of this dramatic. I think she kind of reaches for it, and then he's like, don't touch that.
Yeah.
But I like your version where he pushes her into the mud, and it's just like, no!
Listen, Erin, I know romance, okay? So, he reads the note, and it says, step off it, bro, or I kill the bitch.
It's not at all. It says, stay away or she'll be next.
That's much classier. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'm in a weird mood too. All right.
And now we're back with our old friends.
Oh.
Eloise? Question mark. Colin.
Oh no.
You know what? I'm going to look it up right now while you don't talk about them.
God. So listen, the only thing that happens in this chapter is that we find out that although her, I don't know, dissertation chair approved the topic, he fucking hates it.
That's it.
And he's like, this is bullshit. You shouldn't have done it in the first place. I don't know why I approved it. I just wasted 3 years of your life. This sucks.
And one chapter of Melody and Erin's time.
Yes, guys, thank you very much.
You can skip all of the Eloise and Colin. Listen, last week when we recorded, I hadn't read all the way till the end of the book.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no. But listen, that doesn't start until 2020. And I thought maybe some shit was going to happen with them.
Literally nothing happened.
And then it did not. I thought something was this was going to pay off in any kind of way. And
no,
it did not.
Okay. So, Erin. Shung, shung,
yes,
shung,
Melody?
shung, shung, shung. That's my time travel noise that I just came up with. It's very mechanical. Clickety clack, shung, shung, shung. Clickety clack. We're back in 1806, where we wanted to be the whole time. So, they get caught when he brings her home. Everybody, literally everybody is in the entryway being like, we've been patrolling the streets trying to find you and stuff. And Turnip's like, it was more of a ramble. What? And whatever. Turnip.
Get your shit together.
Yeah. Pick a side, Turnip. So they tell also there's a woman fully in purple, including a turban. Erin, you want to know one of the great tragedies of my life? Do you want to hear it?
Scared that it has something to do with turbans, and I don't really want to know.
I'm never going to be able to rock a 1920s turban. It's never going to happen. It's so sad.
Is that something you needed?
No, but every time I see one on the big screen, I'm like, And then I realize,
how often do you see a 1920s turban on the big screen? I have
quite a bit.
Many more questions than we have time for.
You're right. Moving on. So that is Lady Gwendolyn Reed, and she is the writer of the Count of the Claude of Sanguinis book writing. What is the book called, Erin?
I don't know. It's a vampire's book.
No.
Hey, but not a sexy one.
No.
Her name is Eloise.
There we go. Intellectualism in 2019, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a little taste of our intellectualism right here in 2019.
Okay. So they tell them about the spy plot. And Lizzie and Mrs. Reed are both like, well, you should have come to us sooner. How come you didn't loop us in on the spies? And to Lizzie, her pal, what's our girl's name? It's not Eloise. I'll tell you that much. Ms. Fitzhugh. Sally, thank you.
God,
that was hard.
Okay. I'm like, Agnes? I don't remember.
Yeah, no. Okay. Sally's like, you had your own spies back in boarding school. This is my spy.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Gwendolyn Reed is like, I am the spy master here, and I'm so glad because we're going to make a plan. Then the butler comes in with a vibrating package that has holes in it, and everybody freaks out thinking it's a steampunk bomb. But it's not. Mrs. Gwendolyn hits it with her parasol. It takes a tumble, and then a weasel comes out, you guys. It's a stoat. It's our very own ferret. Oh, I hope its name is Trevor. It's not. Okay. So
I think we're glossing over Mrs. Reed in a way that, like, I don't want to. And I just want to read a quick passage.
Oh, sure. Mrs. Gwendolyn is the best.
How ridiculous she is. Okay.
She's the best.
The woman in purple wafted something aside. I don't remember. Oh, somebody said everything was a little strange. The woman in purple wafted that aside. You did right to summon me, she said grandly. Lucien looked at her in confusion. But we didn't summon you. Well, then you ought to have, retorted the woman in purple. Fortunately, fate remedied your oversight for me. And then she says she was the author of The Convent of Orsino. That's the name of the book.
That's the one.
Lucien said,
God.
You wrote that book? Mrs. Reed looked down her nose at him. This is no time for autographs, young man.
No time for autographs.
Lucien wanted an apology. Anyway,
so good.
Cut that out. I can't read words into speaking, so you should.
Oh no, Mrs. Gwendolyn is staying. Okay.
Oh, God, no.
Okay, so then she's like, great, this is perfect. We're all going to go to Hullingdon. And the way that we're going to get an invite is that you two are going to be betrothed and I'm going to be her escort. Done and done and done. Good to go. Let's go. Yeah.
And then there's this great little consent moment, which I thought was outstanding. I forget,
lovely.
Was it Turnip that was like, you can't just make this guy be betrothed to her without his consent. And she's like, what of my consent?
Yeah.
Just because I'm a woman, I should just be happy to be engaged to this duke? It's great. Anyway, we have a fake engagement. It's handled very cute and very well. I'm sorry, I'm slowing down the podcast, but it was very cute. I loved
great.
it.
And I will say that at the end of that, he says that he thinks to himself, he thinks he likes the idea of like her going with him and like being able to immerse himself in his in his home estate. And it's also where his parents died, where he found their bodies, we find out later. And he's really excited to have her by his side. And then he thinks to himself, he asks her if she minds pretending to be betrothed to him. And he thinks to himself, I really care about her answer. You guys!
Yeah, it's very cute.
Fucking
Thank you for letting me go back to that. Okay, so now they're going to go to his castle. That's the whole point.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to slow us down for something else because we have a little epistolary moment where
that's what I was
snippets.
Going there.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just the plan. They're going to go to his castle. But now we've got letters. Go for it. Go, Mel.
Okay. So we've got a few different snippets of like bitches being bitches.
Yeah, it's great.
About like, I can't believe that this nonsense is happening. And then Aunt Winifred is like, and I'm going to have to be put so out and he's the worst. But then we get little snippets of them writing letters to each other via footman.
Yes.
And they are doing a flirt and they are doing a cute.
And they call it a flirt.
Well, yeah. So then
they're like, if
they
you just
each get a letter.
Me, maybe don't bother the guy that... What?
No.
Sorry. Gosh.
Gwendifred steps in.
Oh,
Mrs. Reed.
Oh.
And she's like... I hope her name is not Gwendifred.
No, it's not even close.
Oh, no. Listen, whatever.
We have months for that. 2 of them.
So she steps in and she's like, hey, you guys can flirt when we get to the castle. Stop tiring the footman. I've got to write letters to the spy ring, you guys. It's so cute.
I thought that was one of them that said that. It's hard when it's I was listening to it, and so it's hard when it's audible to see. But I will say that one of the flirts that they do is him writing her a 1-line letter that just says, will you be bringing your weasel? And the way that the audible actress reads that line in his voice, she does the best man voice for this Duke. It's so good. And the inflection with which she says, will you be bringing your weasel?
Your weasel.
Is what it made me chortle, which is like not something that usually happens when listening to an England Times audiobook.
Correct.
So congratulations, ma'am.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So good. Go to Hollingdon.
And she does bring her weasel.
And she brings her fucking weasel.
Mrs. What's her name?
Also, they 2 times they remind us that Lady Reed of Gwendifred brought a whole parcel of billiard balls.
Yes.
And both times we were reminded of it, it said, but you shouldn't question Mrs. Gwendifred because
honestly
she'll jump down your throat.
It's pretty clear that she's a character in all of these books.
It's a callback. Yes.
About sitting on spies, about how much Sally hates chickens, about billiard balls, about all kinds of silly nonsense that these historical fiction assholes hated that I'm sure are hilarious and wonderful. But I'm sure that the billiard balls has something to do with her like murdering people with billiard balls in the past.
Absolutely. Okay, so when they arrive, the Aunt Winifred is a huge, huge B word about her stoat. Lady Mistledown. That's not right.
No, but
Lady, what's its name?
Yeah.
It does, yeah. Lady Lucia. That's not right either.
No.
Okay.
But you guys, it's a
but meanwhile, the
castle.
butler loves the stoat.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the butler knows a lot about stoats.
Yeah.
Also, like on the way to the castle, she tells him to call her Sally because now they're betrothed, which he really likes.
And then he responds.
And he says that she can call him Lucien, which she also really likes.
And then a lot of times she'll refer to him as my Duke. Oh, golly. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So he decides to take her like for a walk about the grounds to show her the place and the stained glass and the parapets and the grounds and the creeks and the ponds and all the things that come with Hollingdon. And they look up at this thing called the Folly, which is like, I guess, a temple on a hill, but it had been retrofitted to like entertain. So that's where his parents a lot of times would take refreshment. And that is also where he was killed. So he tells her about this. And she is very much like, don't be stoic. Like, go and beat up a tree. Like, yell and scream. Do whatever you want.
And he says something like, I have no interest in assaulting foliage. I'm quite all right.
And it's really sweet.
I just have to say that there are so many. I was just looking for one in my Kindle, but it's just going to be another repeat of like what you already read. There are so many great little like descriptions, like when he kisses her hand when she comes out of the carriage, and the brush of his lips against her glove, and like
oh my gosh,
all of these like little things of like small glances, and just know that we're skipping over a lot of like really good solid romance that was like,
well, yeah, and there's a lot of moments in which he's showing her the grounds, and it says Sally was not looking at that. She was looking at the Duke and like humming in very meaningful ways. We're also getting all of their inner monologue because it keeps switching points of view within the same scene. And both of them are like having to remind themselves that this is a fake betrothal because each of them are liking the idea more and more. And let's be clear, methinks they did protest too much because they liked it a lot to begin with. What, Erin?
We just got a text from Sarah McLean.
Oh, God, what? Oh, no. Oh, sorry. I kind of don't even know what to do with that information.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
Sorry,
the other
everyone.
thing about them having their conversation when they're walking around the grounds is he will say something about, he's explaining his history and like how he left and went to the West Indies to go find his mother's family because he wanted to solve their murder and all these different things that he did. And he's believing, I don't know how to say it. He's describing it in one way and she is reacting in the way that she can see through what he's saying. Like he's saying, when I was 15, I stowed away on a boat and took off for the West Indies. And she's like, oh, how brave. And she's really she was thinking how very sad and how very lonely.
Yeah.
And
that's
he
true.
says he didn't really have time to, she's like, you didn't really mourn them. And he's like, no, I didn't. And then he's thinking like of himself as a child in the boarding school, like crying into his pillow at night and hoping none of the other boys heard. And she's like, I bet he, she knows what he's really saying, even though she's not actually
all
saying
of
it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's just beautiful about how much
really
compassion she has for the very wounded boy that he was growing up.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. All right, so then they go to dinner. They dress for dinner, and it is a wonderful little scene in which she torments Lady Waterford. No, Aunt Winifred.
His aunt is a fucking horrible bitch who says all kinds of shit to Sally that's just like, well, you must not be used to this kind of palatial extravagance. And then Sally is just like meeting her toe to toe because she's our kind of bitch. And she's just like, yeah, Winifred, where I'm from, it's modern and better.
It's better lit.
Awesome. Yeah. And she's like, you might want to try the lighting like I have in my house. Maybe try that. And maybe we should move the dining room over here once I become the Duchess of this motherfucking place. And I'm in charge of you. It's outstanding. They keep going back and forth. It's very good.
Yeah. And then the aunt tells them that she sent out 200 invites to their betrothal ball and that it's going to be on All Hallows Eve. And they hope that people don't come out, but they're like, no, these people are definitely going to come out for a vampire getting married to a mere mortal on All Hallows Eve. So fuck.
100%. And then after dinner, they have this cute little conversation where they're like really close. Yeah. And it's like, it's getting a little sexy and they're like looking at each other's eyes and stuff because he's like very turned on by how mean she was to his aunt because he hates his aunt. And so she says, I think we should make this is so hot, you guys. Just trust me on it. I know that the way that I say things is not hot, but just like trust me that it was. She says, I think we should make this a convincing betrothal by, and then he's like, we're going to fucking make out, like this is gonna happen, kiss. And like you're reading, I'm gonna get a boob grab, and she's like, you should talk to your sister, and like because she's clearly a sad sister. It's like so she's like, I could tell your sister was upset at dinner, and you should really talk to her. And
he's like, oh god, like, talk to a family member that
sister.
Oh geez. So he tries to like make that better. It's not going to be better. I think it's set up for the next book. But basically, they want Hal to marry her. They want the cousins to get married. Their son and then Clarissa.
Lucian's son, or Lucian's cousin and sister.
Yes.
And she tells Lucien that one of the reasons, like she's upset with him because he's acting so happy and is so clearly in love with his betrothed.
Yeah.
And she had a betrothed that was ruined. Her engagement was ruined by the rumors about him like being chained up in the attic because of his madness and his vampirism and the gypsy curse and all that stuff. So that's one of the reasons. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
so
it's
then
important.
So then they put her in the haunted room of the castle, and it's spooky. And then there are like ghosts and ghoulies that are making noises, and so she goes to investigate. And guess what, guys?
Sally.
Yeah, they're saying her name over and over.
It's a secret passage. Is that what you wanted me to say? There's a secret passage.
It's a secret passage. Yeah. So she goes through, and then she ends up, you guys, where do you think she ends up? Erin, where does she end up?
I don't know. It was like down a
Lucien's room.
Oh,
Erin!
I knew it was a room, and I knew there was a big bed in there.
Listen.
But I didn't know if it was like a secret room. I couldn't figure it out.
Lucian is sitting there in front of the TV.
I thought maybe he was there's
fireplace.
Not a TV. Melody. I thought they were both maybe lured to the same room. I couldn't figure it out. I knew she...
Okay.
Listen.
No, listen. It's his bedroom, you guys.
I just like... And where does she end up? Erin. Ta-da! She doesn't fucking know. I knew there was a bed in there and a settee, whatever that is.
A settee.
A settee. It's not when vegetables are in a hot pan. It's something different than that.
And it's not when
it's
meat
something
is on
you
a
can
stick.
lay on. And when you imagine somebody laying on it, it's very hot.
With their hair tumbled.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got the gist of it.
Listen, you guys, something's happened in his room, including but not limited to banter, including but not limited to her looking really, really sexy when she asked him about
velvet robe. I know the important things. I know that she's hot. I know he's hot. I know there's a bed in there. These are the things that are important about a location.
You are correct, madam, except, I mean, none of them get used. Anyway, so she's looking sexy while asking him about his coat of arms, and it's hard for him to keep track of what they're talking about again. And then they start hearing a low muttering.
Even though the robe doesn't show anything, all he can think about is how just one tug would leave her not naked, but with just one dress on.
But with a...
Times it's so rough. She wouldn't even be naked. She'd just be wearing one dress instead of 5.
But it would be so thin, Erin. He'd be able to see nip. He'd be able to see a little hint of bush, you know? Yeah,
gross. A hint of bush. Melody, that didn't help.
Listen.
A hint of bush through a dress? Oof.
It's natural and wonderful. Okay.
I'm not against bush. I'm just saying a hint of bush through a dress is not the sexiest thing.
It is when all you've seen is wrist, Erin. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So they start hearing a low muttering back in the passageway, and it sounds like an incantation. Hamana, 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 hamana. So he gives her a pistol, and he says, try not to shoot me in the back. And then they go investigate. And guys, it's Drunk Boy. Spoiler alert, Erin did it already. It's Drunk Boy.
Sorry, I forgot about the pistol. It's Drunk Cousin Hal, and he's full of gin. And I'm sorry, it just happened again.
I can't. Me too. I cannot keep my cool every time Sarah McLean texts us. I don't know what to do.
What is she saying? What are they about? I can't.
We can't read them. We can't read them. We can't read them. We just know that she's texting us, and oh my god. Okay.
All right.
So Drunk Hal tells them he spills all the beans. He spills every bean he has. All of his pockets are full of beans, and he spills them. So he is the protector, you guys.
This is Melody
She's
fanfic.
dead.
It's very strange. It's about beans, which is not usually the way she goes. But Hal is the benefactor of the actress.
The protector. Yeah.
Of the actress who wrote her all the sexy letters that they found in the place.
And she was pumping him dry. But she was pumping his bank accounts dry.
She was pumping him dry in one way, but not pumping him at all in another way.
That's the one.
And a lot of empty promises and that kind of thing. And he was writing out the sexy notes.
And then this fuck
and then
is
she
like,
ended up
don't
dead.
tell my... Right. And then this fuck is like, don't tell my dad. guys.
Yeah.
Please don't tell my dad.
Yeah, hell's no good.
Oh my God.
But listen, so
lame.
okay, so he has the motive to kill this
Yeah.
actress because he was trying to fuck her and she wouldn't. She was like stealing money from him. He has the opportunity, and he would be in line for the dukedom, right? Correct? If Lucien died, then his uncle would become the duke, and then he's the son of the uncle. So
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
So good idea to frame Lucien as well.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, this guy could be the one behind it. So they put him in his bed. So Lucien takes him into his room, puts drunk Hal in his bed, and he's like, I guess I'm the one who's going to sleep on the couch. And Sally has been getting more and more frustrated about how his family treats him and about how he allows himself to be treated. And so she's like, why the fuck are you letting this badly behaved little boy sleep in the Duke's bed?
Murderer.
/ maybe murderer. Yeah. Like, and you're going to sleep on the couch? What kind of world is that fair, you know?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, it's not that big a deal. And she's like, you shouldn't be alone. And he says, I'm fine. And she goes, no, you're not. Not that it's the least bit surprising, Sally said encouragingly.
Because it's hard for him to find out that his cousin would just frame him for something like that. There's very few people in his family that actually like him. Like, his parents are dead. His aunt hates him. His uncle likes him okay. Yeah. And this cousin likes him okay. The sister hates him. It's just like another person that is like totally fine with seeing him, like framing him for murder.
Right.
So, and he's very upset.
So she says, anyone would be distressed to discover his cousin might be a murderer. And then Lucien's face twisted into a crooked smile. Are you trying to make me feel better by telling me how miserable I am? I put that way, it did sound a little absurd. Sally shook her hair back behind her shoulders. Well, it worked, didn't it? And then Lucien didn't mean to laugh. It came out as a cross between a hiccup and a snort. Only you, he said, his voice rich with amusement. Only you. And then you guys!
Oh, God,
first kiss.
So good.
Oh my God, can I read the whole kiss?
Yes.
It's long.
David's out of town. I'm here all night. Let's do it.
Neato. All right, so if Lucien hadn't meant to laugh, he most certainly didn't mean to kiss Sally. It just happened. She looked so delightfully smug, with her lips pursed in that smirk that was so entirely hers, and her hair tumbling down around her shoulders, that it was just impossible not to kiss her. His fingers, of their own volition, curled around her cheek, the strands of her hair brushing his wrist, catching on his sleeve, crimson and gold in the firelight. Lucien was still shaking with laughter as his lips touched hers, but not for long. He could feel her brief, startled movement, and then her hands slid up around his shoulders, and her lips angled against his, and any laughter was lost between their lips, behind the lids of his eyes, in a warm, velvet darkness, where there was nothing but the feel of Sally in his arms, the silk of her hair forming a tangled net around his hands, the velvet of her robe soft and supple beneath his fingers. Sally fit against him as though she had always belonged there, the lithe line of her body molding itself to his, her long skirts tangling around his legs, the lace ruffles on her sleeves tickling the back of his neck. She smelled of fresh soap and lilacs and the fresh green buds on trees in spring, or at least that was the image that came to Lucien's mind. A garden in its first bloom, dappled in sunlight.
His mother was
so botany is everywhere. Oh, you guys. Okay. So then Hal barfs and they break apart.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
Yeah.
And they're both like, oh God, what did we just do? And she's like, oh no. And he's like, that was a mistake. It won't ever happen again. And she's like, oh God.
But they also say another line about it being a convincing betrothal. Like that they just did it to make it even more convincing, even though they know that's just like a little funny joke. But like, it's also kind of sad because they're not really betrothed. But it's okay, guys. It's going to be okay.
I hope it's going to be okay.
It's going to be fine.
She basically runs back to her room via the secret passages. She's like, I gotta go. Okay, bye. And he's like, oh my God, I fucked this up so royally that she's so afraid of me that she feels like she has to run from me. This is not okay.
Right.
So she gets back to her room and she's like panting and she can't believe what just happened.
Wait.
Yeah, what?
But isn't it right then, before she runs off, that he actually says something to the effect of like, they're like, we're making a convincing false betrothal. And he says something like, unless you want it to be more than that. And she says no.
Oh, I don't remember that.
That's what it 100% happens. It's either here or upstairs with the pistol thing. But he puts it on the line a little bit. And she says, well, of course not. And then that's when she runs off. And then he's like, oh my God, I've just molested her. Like, she's clearly not on the same page as me.
Oh, poor guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So then he comes to her room and he knocks and she's like, she's startled, but she's also really excited because maybe he's here to like ravish her and she's stoked about it. But then he just like hands her a pistol and tells her to lock the door and then leaves. And she's like, he just fucks off like that? He just like embraces me in an intimate way 5 minutes ago and then like nothing happened afterwards. So nobody sleeps well. She's pretty upset about it, about the fact that he didn't kiss her again, not about the kiss.
Right. I mean, I thought that it might be on and it wasn't. It was off.
I know. I was so excited about it being on and then it was never on. So then like she talks to Mrs. Gwendifred in the morning and she doesn't see like the old lady doesn't seem super convinced or like she doesn't seem worried about spies at all. And Sally's like, what's going on? Like, what can we do? And she's like, I'm just finishing in the next chapter of my book and like you can go hang out with your stoat or whatever. And it's a whole thing. So then she seeks him out.
Right.
And you guys, tensions are running high. Okay. Nobody slept very well the night before. Both of them are very confused about what happened. Both of them are very sexually frustrated.
Worried about the kiss and what it meant.
Yes. Everybody thinks that the other person was not into the kiss when each of them were very firmly into the kiss.
Very into the kiss.
And so you guys, they get in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
They get in a fight and it's bad. She's like, you're acting like you're a goddamn visitor here. And I think that the reason you stayed away for so long is because being the Duke scares you silly. And he comes back with, you're meddlesome and you don't think before you charge in and you're like a puppy. He says the words, you're like a puppy, you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How dare you, sir?
And that she's like bogged him down with all her unasked for, unsolicited help. And that like, he's like, do you think I like being caught up in all these schemes and plans of yours? Like I could have handled this myself. And instead I'm here acting like I'm engaged to you when I don't want to be. And it's like, she's like, oh my God, I didn't know that you thought me so foolish this whole time. Oh,
yeah.
God, it's so awful.
It's horrifying. And meanwhile, you can hear in the back of his head, like, no, that's not what I think at all. Why am I saying yes? So then
that's how it felt. Too. That's how it felt to be in his head, though. Yeah, was like, why am I saying these things? I don't even need them, but I'm just PMSing. I know it, but I have to double down now.
But I have to say it.
I just have to keep going. I don't know why.
So she flees, and she's gonna go cry somewhere because she doesn't want to cry in front of him. And he's like, I need to go track her down right now. But then the butler stops because he can tell the butler has heard everything. And the butler has been charmed by her. The butler is Team Sally all the way.
Yes.
The butler is like not having it. And so he like steps in front of him a couple of times to stop him from going after her. And he's like, Sir Henry wants you in the study with the candlestick. So please go there.
Do you feel like for a little bit that it might be the butler though? Like, was there a moment?
Not ever. No.
Oh, really? In this moment, when he stepped in front of him, I was kind of like, what? The stove-loving butler? Oh. Anyway.
Okay. So then he goes to Hal's office, and Uncle Hal is like, I just had
Uncle Henry. Cousin Hal.
Thank you.
Uncle Henry.
Thank you. So I just had a really concernicus meeting with, I know, thank you. Thank you.
Check out Alaska right now.
So I just had a really concernicus meeting with that worthless magistrate, and he thinks that it's you because of your bloodlust and the curse and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucien's like, for fuck's sake, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is ridiculous. And then he tells him about Hal being the benefactor of the murdered lady.
Right. And Henry's very concernicus about this. This is his son.
Yeah. He's like, why don't you let me tell the magistrate? Because we have a relationship and like anything that comes from you is going to be tainted. And Lucien's like, yes, my plan is to absolutely protect Hal as much as I possibly can. This is my priority right now.
Mm-hmm. Which, bing boom bong. Go to the cops. Don't protect your relatives. Go to the cops. Go to the cops.
Yeah, go to the cops.
I know it works out for these guys, but like, don't keep it in the family when your relative has murdered somebody. That's not something to keep in the family. And guess what? Bing boom bong, you're going to jail too.
Yeah.
Hope you like it in jail for obstruction of justice. Yeah. Because that's also a jail thing.
Go to the cops.
Yeah. Don't do your own investigation. Just turn it over to the cops.
You're not Nancy Drew.
It's not England times anymore, okay?
No.
It's not a bumbling magistrate with his little notebook who might be framing you for murder, maybe, okay?
That's right. There's like chain of evidence and stuff that needs to be thought about.
Officer. Yeah, there's things. Yeah. Okay? All right.
Fruit from the poisonous tree, you guys. Stop being Nancy Drew.
Poisonous trees. Nope. All I'm saying is, like, it concerned me when Lucien, because you know how I love Lucien, and he's my type.
I know. Yeah.
When he was like, we're not going to go to the authorities. We're just going to keep this in the family.
I think it hurt you in the soul.
And maybe no justice, the bad kind for Hal. I was like, what? He murdered a lady.
I know.
I was very concerned by this decision of Lucien's, but that's okay. It's fleeting.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. So then Henry's like, also, Aunt Winifred wanted your party to also be a betrothal ball for Hal and Clarissa. So there's that. And Lucien's like, ugh, for fuck's sake.
And we know Clarissa does not want to be married to her cousin Hal.
Neither does Hal.
Yeah.
Hal wants to be boning up on actresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now, these are where my notes end.
Oh, because we're back with Eloise and Calvin.
No!
They're going to a Halloween party. Let me tell you, I skipped the chapter until the last line when Colin tells Eloise that he's leaving Sedgwick Hall and coming to Boston or something. So that's why he was
weirdo.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. He wants to move in with her. Neato. Bye.
Now we're at the masquerade ball.
Masquerade ball. Masquerade.
And I feel that my hard limit of masquerade masks has been misunderstood by the listener. It has been. And I just want to make it clear. And I went back to listen to Acco Schmer.
No, you were clear about it.
To make sure I was clear in the first place. And I was very clear.
It's been bastardized. Yeah.
A masquerade mask in an appropriate time and place is fine. When you take that masquerade mask and you wear it to breakfast or sex or
in the bedroom,
the
a bath. How do you feel about it in the bath?
Or when a masquerade mask appears in a place where it is not supposed to be, that is my problem with masquerade masks. And the only place where they're supposed to be is a masquerade ball or Mardi Gras. Some kind of a festival. And that is it. Bing, bong, bong. Yeah. The end. Renaissance Fair. The end. Done. Masquerade
Maybe
mask.
Someday we can have an HB masquerade ball at one of our meetups.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the number of gold masquerade masks that would haunt me at that?
I can, in fact.
And be at breakfast the next day?
I can, in fact.
Can you imagine walking in on somebody who's wearing a masquerade mask in a bathtub and like eating a pizza? That's like maybe my hardest limit.
Whoa. Pizza and masquerade mask, huh?
Yeah. I hate a masquerade mask. Anyway, so this is
it's not somebody looking up from between your legs as they go down from you all.
No, it's the lacerating pain of the edges of that mask cutting into my inner thighs.
It's true. That's what's gonna happen.
As they, quote, feast like Tamlin did on Feyre. Anyway, all right. So this is an appropriate masquerade ball. Man, if only I could have had a masquerade ball to announce my betrothal.
Oh,
can you imagine on All Hallows Eve? Ugh.
Oh my gosh, it's such a witchy, wonderful thing to do.
Yes. So she is basically dressed up as
the huntress, Artemis.
Artemis, there you go. I almost said Demeter.
And all of her friends are like trying to buck her up a little bit because everyone knows that they had a fight. And she's like, you guys, it doesn't matter anyway because we were going to call off the engagement at this party anyway. So like, it doesn't even matter. So like, it's fine. Yeah. And they're all like, fine. Okay, honey. Okay. Like it's,
she's like, do I meddle and like help people who don't want to be helped? And do I stick my nose into other people's business? And all her friends are like, kind of. But that's also okay, why we love you. We really like your advice and your help, and you're sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. And she's like, no. She's very sad and upset.
Poor thing. And then meanwhile, what's his name is trying to find her like crazy because he wants to apologize and make it right and ask her to be his forever.
So Lucien finds her.
Yeah.
She's talking with her friends. And, okay, Lucien, from here on out, is smolder time all the time. He's now in love. And in love, Lucien is the one that you want. So he finds her and they have like a very cordial conversation in front of her friends.
Yes.
And he's very like nice to her and like, you look beautiful this evening and all that. And then her friends fuck off. And then she's like, you don't need to be nice to me for the benefit of them. Like, we're fighting clearly. Like,
well, and they know it's a sham to begin with.
Exactly. Like, you don't need to be nice to me. And he's like, I'm not being nice to you for them. I'm being nice to you because I want to be nice to you.
I want to be.
And she's just very like, okay, well, is there something you wanted or needed? Like, why did you come over here? And he's like, you.
Yeah.
I wanted you.
I came here for you.
Happens in every fucking book and in every fucking book. I like it. And then he's like, we have to open the dancing because it's our betrothal ball. And she's like, oh, right. Yes, of course. I'm a debutante. I know these things. So then they do this dance and it's just like he's trying to grovel the whole time.
He is.
But he's like, these England time dances where you're only like there for 3 seconds and then you're away and then you're back for 3 seconds and then away.
I love it because it's a callback from the first dance with Clarissa at the beginning of the book. It's so good. Yes. And I love the difference between them because in the first dance, Clarissa is talking about how their parents like murdered each other and like it was awful and like keeping this plastic smile on her face. And in this one, he's trying to make up for his monumental fuck up. He's trying to do a grovel, but he can't go down on his knees in the middle of a quadrille.
Grovel. It's like, I love his grovel. He makes good grovel. And there's this beautiful line where she says, I'm sure you're counting down the minutes, meaning the minutes until they can break up. And he said, I am counting down the minutes, but not in the way that you mean. Because he's savoring all the last minutes that he has with her. Because of how much he loves her. And they've also, in the meantime, since they had their fight, realized how right each of them was about them. I mean, maybe not in the way that it was said meanly.
Correct.
But he's realized that, like, he did spend all this time in New Orleans in the West Indies, and it wasn't for the benefit of his parents. He wasn't living his life, and he was shirking his responsibilities, and all these things that she said about him were true.
And being the Duke is terrifying, because he doesn't think he deserves it, because he thinks that, like, he should have gotten to his parents' bodies faster. He thinks that he doesn't deserve it because he didn't honor them in life. Like, oh God, it's so bad. And she's like, I know I'm a meddling slore, but listen, everybody likes it. I'm helpful.
But maybe I need to check myself every once in a while. Like, now she's a self-aware meddling slore, which makes it better.
Yes.
And he realizes what a beautiful, wonderful, good Duchess she would be. A better Duchess than his mother was, because she would take care of all the people that are like
and the houses
there and like give them soup. There's a lot about soup. It doesn't matter. They're just perfect for each other. Then they get done with the dance and he's like, is there a place where we could talk alone?
Come with me. Yeah.
Then they go to a motherfucking tropical greenhouse.
Tropical greenhouse, you guys!
Of his mother's plants. Who is tending
beautiful
these plants?
Flowers?
Who is keeping these tropical plants alive in England is
apparently
what I want to know.
She trained the servants well. Jeez.
And then he's still doing a big grovel at her, and she's just walking around the plants and just like plucking things and just like being very aloof. And then I think
he, like,
that's when they
up
know
on
this.
her.
I think they know this before.
That the manzanilla,
which is the apple, the cursed apple that killed his
death
mother.
apple, murder apple.
There, and it's the very manzanilla tree that the manzanilla came from that killed his mother, and he had thought that it was now no longer
destroyed,
but it's still there. And then he's like, they're so rare, and this is probably the only one in England. And then he's like, wait, there's probably another one somewhere in England, I'm sure. And then they're like, oh no, it's got to be somebody in this family.
Yeah, so like this is means, you guys. Motive means opportunity, you guys. This is means and opportunity.
Melody, you're so good at crime. So
thank you.
The snuff box that was on the corpse also came from this castle estate. Like, it has to be somebody who lives here. So it is Hal. It's definitely
Hal. It's gotta
Hal.
be Hal. He was trying to get rid of the mistress who wouldn't fuck him. And he's trying to frame up what's his name that we love, Lucien, so that he can be the Duke someday. And it's terrible. So they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? First, we should smooch.
I'm sorry. I want to know what leads to the smooch because I forgot. And I really want to know.
Okay, fair.
Oh, yeah. So they're talking about, like, he's going through the whole history of, like, you know, you appeared in my garden and you did this and you did that. You were infuriating and, like, you were in the garden and, like, it's just so good. They're going back through all the stuff.
Yeah.
And she says something like, you should have taken your leave of me at the time or something like that. And he's like, but I didn't know you then.
Right.
And she's like, oh, and you do now? And he says, oh, yes. And she can feel his breath soft against her lips. And he said, if I had known then in the garden what I know now. And she's like, then what would you have done? And he's like, this. And then he's just like fucking on it. And then that's the end of the chapter. And then it goes to his perspective. In the next chapter, it says he kissed her because she looked so damn kissable in the low light of the braziers.
Of the braziers.
Braziers, sure. He kissed her because he couldn't help kissing her. He kissed her because it was easier than trying to tell her all the confused thoughts that were bumping around in his head, all of which began with stay and ended frighteningly and dangerously with love. He didn't want to think of love. Love was terrifying. Love made you vulnerable. Love hurt. So he kissed her instead, long and hard and desperately, with all the feelings he didn't have the words to express, his hands spreading across the warm silk of her back, her curls tickling his cheek and neck. You are so lovely, Lucien said tenderly, inside and out. And they make out for fucking ever. And it is good.
So good. I have chills right now.
But he doesn't get chills. From my shitty reading of it. Like, you guys read it. Read it yourself. And they get interrupted. But they get interrupted before he's, like, able to be like, I love you, be my wife. You know, like, that's what he wanted to end this speech with. And he couldn't do it. He kissed her. He smooched her too early. And then it's Sherry, the
Sherry
tutor.
has come
Sherry, the
to
tutor,
the place.
I guess, like, took a train or something from England times.
No. He took like
London
4
times?
different horses.
Yeah, it got all these horses, like, got to the ball and was like, where is he? And even though no one knew where they were, was like, greenhouse. Or maybe he just checked the greenhouse. I was very confused by Sherry showing up in this moment.
Yeah.
But he's like,
anyway,
hey, Lucien,
is
I thought
urgent.
you should know this. I cleaned out Dead Actress's room. The one that you guys were in that time. And don't worry, when he mentions that, Lucien thinks about that time and all the things that he thought about her in that time.
Yeah, he does.
It's like a double thoughtception. It's fantasyception. And he's like, I cleaned out that room and there was a note in there. Now, I don't even remember what it said, but it's like definitely from the killer. It's in the same paper and it's in the same
handwriting,
scratchy letters. Oh, it's like, hey, meet me at this party. I have something for you on the balcony. And then all at once, Lucien realizes that's not Hal's handwriting.
Yes.
And so all of these notes that have been left, it's not Hal.
And Sally has fucked off back to the ballroom. Sally's like, we know it's Hal. Hal won't do anything to me at this party. I'm fine. Well, and really, I'm going to go.
He wants to keep her there because whenever Sherry fucks off, he wants to tell her that he loves her before she goes back to the ball and calls off the engagement, which is the plan.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, don't leave because of murderers.
Right.
Because of the murderer. And she's like, the murderer is Hal. Hal goes to school with my brother. Hal's not going to murder me, I promise.
Right.
Like, regardless of how many notes he leaves about it, Hal's not a threat to me. And he lets her go.
He can't think of any other excuses that will do the job. Because he won't just say, I love you, I want you to be my wife in front of Sherry. And like,
Sherry,
you know,
I wouldn't have either.
Time and place or whatever. But still, I mean, he could have been like, I have something to ask you about after Sherry leaves.
She would have just been like, ask me in the ballroom. You're being weird. So she goes back to the ballroom.
And then she gets waylaid by the stupid magistrate who's good for nothing and worthless. Because he's like, come to this place with me.
Yeah, it's not Hal. So she's in these like corridors in the secret passages and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you guys.
The dark hallways, you guys.
Ms. Lauren Willig is doing doing a writing on this magistrate.
An intrigue.
She's doing a big intrigue. He's got
I know.
eyes that are flickering red in the night. He's got a hood. He's got a skeletal hand all of a sudden.
He does.
He's making a big villain play right now. Sneaking her off to some room for like a surreptitious interview.
To some
and she keeps being like,
location.
Yeah,
do we really? A second location, Sally.
Don't ever go to a second location. Do whatever
Never.
you need to do. So she's like, does this really need to happen right now? And he's like, oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it must happen now. And so she goes off to this room with him. And it's like very
because she thinks to herself, I'm dressed as Artemis. I've got this costume, bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Sally.
She also,
you are not invincible.
Has that stoat stashed
she does
in a quiver.
That beautiful stoat just snurfling back there.
So in the moment she puts on this costume for this big ball, you know Stoat is going to save the day. Like there's no situation under which Stoat is not going to be instrumental in the life-saving process. Yeah. So she goes back with this magistrate who 100% is all evil, head to toe evil now. Because his eyes literally glowed red, Lauren. Then we're back in the ballroom. Duke of Sexydom. What's his name? Lucien.
Yes.
Oh, I love him.
Doesn't matter. It's Duke of Sexydom.
In a year when we do these awards, we must remember Lucien the Duke. Okay. So he's going all around the ballroom being like, has anyone seen Sally, my betrothed? And everybody's like...
Turnup is like, I saw her about 5 minutes ago. What?
Yeah. And so he's like going around. And then
Turnup.
Somebody brings him up one of those silvery trays. Remember the silver trays?
Yes.
God, England, you guys.
And a footman in a livery.
Like,
a livery.
This is so England. Just hand a note. A regular, on a silver tray, there's a note with the cream paper in the same spidery writing. And it says, your bride awaits you in the Schmurfer.
In the Folly Temple.
What is it?
I don't know.
It has a pillar.
Listen.
And it is
I'm
the place where
it's a
he
gazebo
found...
on a hill.
That's what I
That's
always
what I'm
thought.
thinking.
Like the one where they almost smooch in Pride and Prejudice good version.
That's the one.
We just made enemies. We just lost.
We did.
Conservatively, 1,000
Actually,
listeners.
wait. I love every version of Pride and Prejudice. So
I don't.
I know. But I'm just saying that like you're the one who just pissed people off.
Keep it snappy.
I did
Keep
not.
it 2 hours. Keep it manageable.
No, give me the 6-hour manifesto. Okay.
Oof. Yeah, like one of
First
those.
me right up.
Where Keira Knightley does her chin.
Oh,
She
yeah.
puts that chin up and like maybe she's going to
she
smooch,
does.
but maybe she's going to bite and you don't know.
Maybe she's going to bite.
So, like one of those. There's a pillar there and that's where he found his parents dead.
Yes.
And they're like the bride she awaits you. But meanwhile, she's not there. She's
not
in
there,
the
you
room
guys.
with murder magistrate.
And he is telling her all about how Lucien is an actual vampire, how he's been literally locked in a dungeon for the past 15 years because of the bloodlust. And she's like, where are you getting this ridiculous information? And basically it comes out that Uncle Henry is the one that has been telling him all of this ridiculous information.
Feeding him all of this crazy information for years.
Years, you guys.
Years. And the evil magistrate is really doing a big concern on Sally and just trying to get her not to marry him because he's like, don't you understand how crazy he is? Haven't you noticed yet that he's mad?
So good job, Lauren. We thought it was an intrigue. Turns out it was a concern.
His eyes were glowing red with genuine concern for Sally, as it turns out.
Right.
So now, Sally.
So then she's like, I have to go find my Duke because now he doesn't know that Uncle Henry's the one behind everything. Right. Fuck balls. So she runs back to the ball and she's like, where is Henry? Where is Henry?
She's literally saying,
oh, not
where
Henry.
is my Duke? Where is my Duke?
Where's my Duke, you guys?
Beautiful.
So they're like, he got a note and he fucked off. And I don't remember how
he
she finds out.
something about Schmurfers and he walked off. Like whatever the thing is that called, the Folly?
The Folly. Yeah. And so
whatever
she's like, oh my
called.
God, I got a jet there.
Yeah.
So she starts a run in her Artemis toga.
Meanwhile, clip to Lucien and Henry. There's
oh my God.
Black draperies.
There's a banquet. And
black
draperies.
Foods. And the draperies are swooshing around and he's
all over the place.
They're playing eyeball tricks on him. And he's like, is she going to be dead? Here,
right.
Can you imagine being Lucien?
Oh, God.
Having found that dead girl, like laid up on a marble slab, theatrically posed, and then having also found your parents in the same spot and knowing the same murderer is going around murdering ladies and walking up there not knowing if she's going to be dead. You guys,
he just found out he loves her.
Yeah, like, he oh god, I love how we're like amazed by this. You guys, this is for all the assholes out there that say romance is formulaic and it's not exciting. You can read this book 15 times and still make your heart go pitter pat as he's walking up to that Smurfer where he found his parents by the pillar.
It's true. So then out of the fucking mist, Henry comes out and he's like, why don't you have a glass of champagne? Your bride will be along soon.
Yeah.
And he's like, Uncle Henry, you're being a weirdo.
You're being weird. Yeah. And he's like, well, I planned for you this surprise banquet outside of the ball because of how the aunt was kind of making the ball about Hal and the sister. And so like, I thought it would be nice for you guys to have like a little romance spot out here at the Smurfer.
And it doesn't check out.
It doesn't check out because like Lucien doesn't like the Smurfer. That's where he found his parents dead. Yeah. Why would he want to have a banquet there?
And also, Uncle Henry, you have literally never offered me a glass of champagne before. Also, what is this even?
These foods? Like, was the butler down with this situation? They had to carry these tables out? All the way to the gazebo Smurfer?
Yeah, so he's like, I'm not drinking the champagne. And he's like, you are going to drink the champagne. He's like, I'm not going to drink the champagne.
He's like I'm going to wait for Sally so that I don't ruin the surprise by digging into this beautiful meal. Thank you, Henry. But inside his head, he's like, Henry's the murderer.
Henry's
the
guy.
Because he's always been very nice to him.
And he's the only one who's like, he's the only one that Lucien thought he was on good terms with. Like, it's so sad. So then Sally comes out of the mist. Fake bow strung.
Don't drink the champagne. It's poison. And like Lucien's kind of like,
on that note,
what's up?
I'm really sorry. I got to do a tangent real quick. I want to note it for the record.
This book is in the middle. Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry, I don't want to forget. This book is also a smattering French, and we knew what was going on the whole fucking time. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Okay, sorry. So she comes out of the mist. Fake bowstrung. Yeah. She's ready to fuck Uncle Henry up. Then he's like, I'm not gonna drink this thing. And Henry's like, everybody's fucking drinking the thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? Fine. I also brought me a pistol.
A gun.
And so then he's like, don't worry. It'll be even better with like all the blood all over the place.
We forgot that on her way to get to Lucien, she sees the sister and her other betrothed. So the uncle also ruined.
Nobody cares.
But it's so funny. It's so funny. The uncle really ruined their engagement with the rumors of, you know, like that.
Because they want her to marry his son.
He wanted her to marry Hal. So Sally like has to interrupt them being like, I've always loved you. I've loved you forever. I didn't believe those rumors at all. What I heard was that you didn't want a lowly squire. And she's like, no, that's not. And like,
I've
Sally's
always
just
wanted the lowly squire.
Where the fuck is Lucien? Has anyone seen Lucien or Henry? And they're just like, we've loved you. And she's like, yeah. Get back to that. But like, I'm doing my love story right now. So if like you could pause on this for a sec. It was just so funny.
Okay. So then he's like, I have a pistol on you right now. And then, also, Sally has already called for the cavalry.
Yes.
She's like, sent a message to Lizzie and Mrs. Gwendifred and Agnes and all the rest of the spy catchers. And she's like, you got to meet me in the Folly Geschmurger.
Yeah.
So.
It's not a schmurger. That's a character from
a flurber. It's a flurber.
It's a schmurfer. All right?
Schmurfer.
Yeah.
Got it.
There you go.
Control safe. Yeah. I got it. Okay, so she's like, don't you dare, I've got my bow. And so she releases the GD arrow and it goes katank in the middle of the floor
because it's
in between
construction paper.
What you doing, Sally? Bow.
But then she reaches up for the ultimate weapon in her quiver, which is an angry stoat.
Says the stoat.
And she throws
she tosses this fucking stoat through the air and it lands all claws and teeth on Uncle Henry's face parts.
Yeah.
Like the movie Airplane or somewhere where a rodent lands on a person's face.
Yeah, no. Why did you?
I don't know. Like the movie Alien.
Yeah,
maybe.
like a face hugger.
The face hugger.
That's what this stoat is.
There you go. I am so good at references.
And it saves the day.
Yeah, and then the gun like goes off, but then it lands somewhere else, and then all the girls come in and they sit on Uncle Henry, and then you guys, it's the climactic triumphant end where Lucien finally gets her off into a corner. And he crowds her with his body so that nobody can see her but him. And he's like, I love you and I want to marry you and I want the betrothal to be real and I think you're the best and I want you to meddle in my life for the rest of my life. And I really want to smooch you again and I want to do more than that. And I want to see your bush through your very thin dress.
He does not. That's terrible melody fanfic. Who was our fanfic writer? And the immortal words of her. Was it Kim L?
Yes, Kimberly L.
Then they fucked in a gazebo.
They didn't. They didn't. And then Mrs. Gwendifred, the spy master, is like, "Oh, it's so pedestrian that it's just a matter of inheritance." And then the end. It's over. It was a great story, and I loved it. Except I really wanted to see their genitals. Yeah. That's all.
I know.
Okay, I'm trying to be nice about it because. Listen, everything else just got me so hot. And then, it was just so good is what I'm saying.
It was so good.
I'm saying that I wanted the sex because it's so good. There are definitely stories where the opposite is true, where I'm like, the writing's not very good. I don't need this much sex. You're just doing jazz hands at me. I can see through this in a second.
Yeah.
And in this one, I just think that Lauren Willig could, send out a newsletter or something with a really banging sex scene.
Maybe
and everybody would be happy about it.
Maybe we have to, pay her $1.
I will.
I will, too. Lauren, can we pay you $1 for it? Will you take my $1?
For a Duke of Sexydom?
I will
Vampire
pay
Duke of
top
Sexydom?
dollars for it.
I will. Yeah. All right, you guys. I loved it. It was the best. It was a great story. It was spooky, too, and Halloween-y.
Yeah.
So.
I love a tortured man. So good.
I love a misunderstood.
I love a misunderstood. I love a torture. God. I love a maybe murder. I loved how he was 100. He was 99% a brood and 1% a laugh. And then she was the one that made him the laugh. Every time that they were intimate
every time
with
his
each other,
mouth tugged up in the corners, or he would swallow down a laugh.
Her silliness and her aloofness. Oh, she's so great.
So good. So, Erin, tell me about a lady love that you have.
It's very simple, guys.
Yeah.
I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times.
Okay, here we go.
Don't eat or drink things that are poisonous to you. Last night.
Erin, your intolerance.
Last night, I had my Basic Ladies autumnal fall party.
Yes.
And I made mold cider. And I have an intolerance. An intolerance.
An intolerance.
To sulfites. And I made it for the other basic fall ladies. You do a cider.
You did.
You put it in your crock pot. You do a fresh ginger. You do an orange. You do 5 to 6 cinnamon sticks. You do a little sachet, little tea thingy, and you put in there some cloves. You put in there some allspice berries. You put it in that crock pot on warm for all the hours you have. Whatever is the most hours, all of them.
Yeah.
Then you scoop that out into a mug and you spike it with some bourbon. And boy, is that just the best autumnal treat that you can make. And I made
It's also ripe with sulfites.
It's so full of sulfites. Because I didn't even use... If you do it with fresh cider, it's not going to have sulfites in it. But I didn't. I used the grocery store cider because there wasn't any fresh cider available.
Oh, no.
And it's not even the refrigerated kind, which means it's really full of sulfites. Extra super sulfites. And I just wanted it. I wanted it because I was a little drunk. And then I drank it, and then I felt so bad. So bad. And I woke up this morning. You poisoned
yourself.
Yeah. Don't eat the fucking chewy granola bars. Don't eat shit that is literally poisonous for you.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that. I know there's somebody out there that's also in my boat that's just 4 gummy vitamins? No, don't. It's poisonous for you. Go eat a normal bad choice food, not one that's literally, I'm lactose intolerant, but maybe. No, don't.
But I really want that whipped cream.
Don't.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Put the baked goods down.
It's bad for your body.
Yes.
If you're allergic to something or intolerant to something, put it down. It's not worth it.
Put it down.
It seems like it's going to be, but it's not. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is why the Chewy granola bars are currently locked in the gun safe, for which I do not know the code.
That's right. He was just looking out for you. Okay.
It's sad.
My Lady Love. My Lady Love. My Lady Love is a little show on Hulu. It's a little show called Letterkenny.
Oh, God,
and
I knew
it is fucking hilarious. And honestly, it should not work for me because there's like, it's about these Canadian hicks, and it's a lot of like the making sort of fun of toxic masculinity while also participating in the toxic masculinity. It's like every once in a while they'll call people Sallies in a negative way, but then there are definitely episodes where they're just like gays are totally cool. You know what I mean? So it's just, God, it's so good and it's so funny, and it's about these 3 dude friends and one of the dude's little sister.
So it
and
sounds
they're
like
just
you're
going
saying
on
that
hijinks.
The characters themselves are not necessarily woke, but the show is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if
that's a really good way to put it.
If I am somebody who's gay or transgendered or like gender non-conforming and I watch it, it's not going to be offensive to me?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's what I'm just like wondering for people out there listening that may be wondering that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I can't imagine a situation where Melody likes something that is offensive in any way. But
right. I don't know. But like, yeah, I'm usually antennas on high alert for that bullshit. But it's like a bunch of puns and a bunch of clever, and it is just so funny. So Letterkenny, it's on Hulu. It is fucking magical. The episodes are super short and the seasons are also pretty short. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like a big commitment at all. And it is just so funny. It's so funny.
Can I tell you, do you remember when we got in a huge fight earlier this week?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Remember how we got in...
Are we going to talk about that?
No. I just want to tell you this because I didn't tell you before. So remember how we got into that huge fight in the morning?
Yeah.
At like 8 in the morning? And then we kind of made up, but not really until the next day. So that night... I was on my couch looking for something to watch, and I was like, I wonder.
And you looked at Letterkenny and you were like, "Fuck that!"
No, better, because you had told me to watch it, and and I was like, I wonder if I watch Letterkenny and I text Melody that she'll forget that she's mad at me because she's so excited about that show. Like I almost did a psychology on you, where if I text you and I'm like, oh my God, I just watched Letterkenny and I loved it, you would have been like, I just want to engage, but am mad. I tried to trick you into forgiving me.
Honestly, that would have been so welcome, Erin, because I spent all of that night being like, oh my God, I'm the worst friend. Erin is going to break up with me. Erin doesn't want to talk to me ever again, and I have to find some way to fix it. So if you had offered me the Letterkenny olive branch, I would have tackled it.
I also just didn't want to watch it, though, so it's like pretty easy decision, because I was a little worried that I was going to send that text and you were going to be like, how dare you? Like, how dare you think that this can be mended by you watching a Canadian TV show for me? How dare you treat it with that flippant trivialness?
Oh my God.
So I watched more of The Office is what I did. I will watch it though. I promise.
Good choice.
Okay.
Good choice. All right. You can find us on all the places. We are on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms. Twitter is at Heaving_Bosoms. Our website is heavingbosomspodcast.com. Our email is heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. Our Patreon is patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. We give extra content. We give extra gifts. We give a bunch of extras. So check it out. And is that it?
I think so.
It feels like it. Oh, I'm sorry. I failed to mention the happiest place on the internet, which is the closed group, the Heaving Bosoms Podcast Geriatric Friendship Cult.
On Facebook.
Yes, on Facebook. So, that's what's up.
And please tune in to our sister podcast, Ask a Badass, because you have to, because it's on this channel.
Yeah. Ask a Badass is so cool. And if you hit subscribe, it will automatically go into your feed, just like the regular episodes. Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Have a wonderful week. And keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love getting fucked real good in a schmurfer. Which is
get that fanfic. Do that fanfic.
It's got a pillar.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.